Khirbet Qeiyafa is the site of an ancient city overlooking the Elah Valley. The ruins of the fortress were uncovered in 2007 near the Israeli city of Beit Shemesh, 30 kilometers from Jerusalem. It covers nearly 2.5 hectares and is encircled by a 700-meter-long city wall constructed of stones weighing up to 8 tons each. A number of archaeologists have claimed that it might be the biblical city of Sha'arayim and Neta'im, and that it might contain the ruins of King David's palace. Others are skeptical and suggest it might represent either a Judahite or Canaanite fortress. Name. The meaning of the Arabic name of the site, Khirbet Qeiyafa, is uncertain. Scholars suggest it may mean the place with a wide view. The modern Hebrew name Elah Fortress derives from the location of the site on the northern bank of Nahal Elah, one of 6 brooks that flow from the Judean mountains to the coastal plain. Geography. The Elah Fortress lies just inside a north-south ridge of hills separating Philistia and Gath to the west from Judea to the east. The ridge also includes the site currently identified as Tel Azekah. Past this ridge is a series of connecting valleys between 2 parallel groups of hills. Tel Soko lies on the southern ridge with Tel Adullam behind it. The Elah Fortress is situated on the northern ridge, overlooking several valleys with a clear view of the Judean mountains. Behind it to the northeast is Tel Yarmut. For the topography, archaeologists believe this was the location of the cities of Adullam, Soko, Ezekah and Yarmut cited in Joshua chapter 15 verse 35. These valleys formed the border between Philistia and Judea. Site and excavation history. The site of Khirbet Qeiyafa was surveyed in the 1860s by Victor Guerin, who reported the presence of a village on the hilltop. In 1875, British surveyors noted only stone heaps. In 1932, Dmitry Baramki reported the site to hold a 35 square meters watchtower associated with Khirbet Qeiyafa, 200 meters east. The site was mostly neglected in the 20th century and not mentioned by leading scholars. Yehuda Dagan conducted more intense surveys in the 1990s and documented the visible remains. The site raised curiosity in 2005 when Sargana discovered impressive Iron Age structures under the remnants. Excavations at Khirbet Qeiyafa began in 2007, directed by Yosef Garfinkel of the Hebrew University and Sargana of the Israel Antiquities Authority, and continued in 2008. Nearly 600 square meters of an Iron Age each.A city were unearthed, based on pottery styles and 2 burned olive pits tested for carbon-14 at Oxford University. Garfinkel and Ganner have dated the site to 1050 to 970 BCE, although Israel Finkelstein contends evidence points to habitation between 1050 and 915 BCE. The initial excavation by Ganner and Garfinkel took place from August 12 to 26, 2007 on behalf of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem Institute of Archaeology. In the preliminary report at the annual ASOR conference on November 15, they presented a theory that the site was the biblical Ezekah, which until then had been exclusively associated with Tel Sakaria. In 2008, after the discovery of a second gate, they identified the site as the biblical Sha'arayim. In 2015, a plan to build a neighborhood on the site was cancelled, to enable the archaeological dig to go forward. Dating. Releasing the preliminary dig reports for the 2010 and 2011 digging seasons at Khirbet Qeiyafa, the Israel Antiquities Authority stated, "The excavations at Khirbet Qeiyafa clearly reveal an urban society that existed in Judah already in the late 11th century BCE. It can no longer be argued that the kingdom of Judah developed only in the late 8th century BCE or at some other later date. Discoveries at Khirbet Qeiyafa are significant to the debate about the veracity of the biblical account of the United Monarchy at the beginning of Iron Age II, as no archaeological finds were found that could corroborate claims of the existence of a magnificent biblical kingdom. Various scholars have advanced the opinion that the kingdom was no more than a small tribal entity. Garfinkel, who said in 2010 that the debate could not be answered by the Qeiyafa excavations, is of the opinion that what is clear, however, is that the kingdom of Judah existed already as a centrally organized state in the 10th century BCE. In addition to Garfinkel's theory, there are two other hypotheses. One, supported by Nadav Naaman and Edo Koch, holds the ruins to be Canaanite, based on strong similarities with the nearby Canaanite excavations at Beit Shemesh. The third hypothesis, advanced by Israel Finkelstein and Alexander Fantelkin, maintains that the site shows affiliations with the North Israelite entity. Identification. In 2010, Gershon Galil of the University of Haifa identified Khirbet Qeiyafa as the Neta'im of 1 Chronicles chapter 4 verse 23, due to its proximity to Khirbet Qeiyafa. The inhabitants of both cities were said to be potters, and, in the king's service, a description that is consistent with the archaeological discoveries at that site. Yehuda Dagan of the Israel Antiquities Authority also disagrees with the identification as Sha'arayim. Dagan believes the ancient Philistine retreat route after the defeat in the battle at the Valley of Elah more likely identifies Sha'arayim with the remains of Khirbet Qeiyafa. Dagan proposes that Khirbet Qeiyafa be identified with biblical Neta'im. The fortifications at Khirbet Qeiyafa predate those of contemporary Lachish, Beersheba, Arad, and Timnah. All these sites have yielded pottery dated to early Iron Age II. The parallel valley to the north, mentioned in Samuel 1, runs from the Philistine city of Ekron to Tel Beit Shemesh. The city gate of the Elah fortress faces west with a path down to the road leading to the sea, and was thus named Gath Gate, or Sea Gate. The 23 Dunam site is surrounded by casement wall and fortifications. The top layer of the fortress shows that the fortifications were renewed in the Hellenistic period. Garfinkel suggests that it was a Judean city with 500 to 600 inhabitants during the reign of David and Solomon. Based on pottery finds at Qeiyafa and Gath, archaeologists believe the sites belonged to two distinct ethnic groups. The finds have not yet established who the residents were, says Aaron Meir, a Bar-Ilan University archaeologist digging at Gath. It will become more clear if, for example, evidence of the local diet is found. Excavations have shown that Philistines ate dogs and pigs, while Israelites did not. The nature of the ceramic shards found at the site suggest residents might have been neither Israelites nor Philistines but members of a third, forgotten people. Evidence that the city was not Philistine comes from the private houses that about the city wall, an arrangement that was not used in Philistine cities. There is also evidence of equipment for baking flatbread and hundreds of bones from goats, cattle, sheep, and fish. Significantly, no pig bones have been uncovered, suggesting that the city was not Philistine. Nadav Naaman of Tel Aviv University nevertheless associates it with Philistine Gath, citing the necessity for further excavations as well as evidence from Beit Shemesh, whose inhabitants also avoided eating pork, yet were associated with Ekron. Naaman proposed identification with the Philistine city of Gob. Yigal Levin has proposed that the Margil or circular camp of the Israelites, which is mentioned in the story of David and Goliath, was described this way because it fitted the circular shape of the nearby Khirbet Qeiyafa. Levin argues that the story of David and Goliath is set decades before Khirbet Qeiyafa was built, and so the reference to Israel's encampment at the Margal probably does not represent any particular historical event at all, but when the story was composed centuries later, the round structure of Khirbet Qeiyafa would still have been visible and known to the author of 1 Samuel chapter 17, who guessed its function and worked it into his story. Archaeological finds. The site consists of a lower city of about 10 hectares and an upper city of about 3 hectares surrounded by a massive defensive wall ranging from 2 to 4 meters tall. The walls are built in the same manner as the walls of Hazor and Gezer, formed by a casemate. At the center of the upper city is a large rectangular enclosure with spacious rooms on the south, equivalent to similar enclosures found at royal cities such as Samaria, Lachish, and Ramat Rachel. On the southern slope outside the city, there are Iron Age rock-cut tombs. The site, according to Garfinkel, has a town plan characteristic of the Kingdom of Judah that is also known from other sites, e.g., Beit Shemesh, Tel En-Nazbah, Tel Beit Mirzam and Beersheba. A casemate wall was built at all of these sites, and the city's houses next to it incorporated the casemates as one of the dwellings rooms. This model is not known from any Canaanite, Philistine, Kingdom of Israel site. The site is massively fortified, including the use of stones that weigh up to 8 tons apiece. 500 jar handles bearing a single fingerprint, or sometimes 2 or 3, were found. Marking jar handles is characteristic of the Kingdom of Judah, and it seems this practice has already begun in the early Iron Age IA. Area A extended 5 times 5 meters and consists of 2 major layers, Hellenistic above and Iron Age II below. Area B contains 4 squares, about 2.5 meters deep from topsoil to bedrock, and also features both Hellenistic and Iron Age layers. Surveys on the surface have also revealed sherds from the early and Middle Bronze Ages, as well as from the Persian, Roman, Byzantine, early Islamic, Mamluki and Ottoman periods. The Hellenistic upper portion of the wall was built with small rocks atop the Iron II lower portion, consisting of big boulders in a casemate design. Part of a structure identified as a city gate was uncovered, and some of the rocks where the wall meets this gate are estimated to weigh 3 to 5 tons. The lower phase was built of especially large stones, 1 to 3 meters long, and the heaviest of them weigh 3 to 5 tons. Atop these stones is a thin wall, c. 1.5 meters thick. Small and medium-sized field stones were used in its construction. These 2 fortification phases rise to a height of 2 to 3 meters and stand out at a distance, evidence of the great effort that was invested in fortifying the place. In 2012, an inscription in Canaanite alphabetic script was found on the shoulder of a ceramic jar. The inscription read Isba al son of Beda and was dated to Iron Age IA. Khirbet Qeiyafa inscription. A 15 by -16.5-CENTIMETRE ostracan, a trapezoid-shaped potsherd with 5 lines of text, was discovered during excavations at the site in 2008. Although the writing on the ostracan is poorly preserved and difficult to read, Émile Puch of the École biblique et archéologique française proposed that it be read. 1. Do not oppress and serve God. Despoiled him, her. 2. The judge and the widow wept. He had the power. 3. Over the resident alien and the child. He eliminated them together. 4. The men and the chiefs' offices have established a king. 5. He marked 60 servants among the community's habitations, generations, and understood the ostracan as a locally written copy of a message from the capital informing a local official of the ascent of Saul to the throne, which considered the language to be Canaanite Hebrew without Philistine influence. Gershon Galil of Haifa University proposed the following translation: 1. You shall not do, but worship. 2. Judge the Elah and the wit, judge the orphan. 3. The stranger, ead for the infant, plead for the poor, for the widow, rehabilitate at the hands of the king. 5. Protect the poor, the slave, ort the stranger. On January 10, 2010, the University of Haifa issued a press release stating that the text was a social statement relating to slaves, widows and orphans. According to this interpretation, the text uses verbs that were characteristic of Hebrew, such as asah and avad, which were rarely used in other regional languages. Particular words that appear in the text, such as are specific to Hebrew and are written differently in other local languages. The content itself, it is argued, was also unfamiliar to all the cultures in the region besides that of Hebrew society. It was further maintained that the present inscription yielded social elements similar to those found in the biblical prophecies, markedly different for those current in by other cultures that write of the glorification of the gods and taking care of the physical needs. Gershon Galil claims that the language of inscription is Hebrew and that 8 out of 18 words written on inscription are exclusively biblical. He also claimed that 30 major archaeological scholars to support this thesis. Other readings are possible, however, and the official excavation report presented many possible reconstructions of their letters without attempting a translation. The inscription is written left to right in a script which is probably early alphabetic Proto-Phoenician, though Christopher Ralston and Dembski consider that it might be written vertically. Early alphabetic differs from Old Hebrew script and its immediate ancestor. Ralston also disputes the claim that the language is Hebrew, arguing that the words alleged to be indicative of Hebrew either appear in other languages or don't actually appear in the inscription. Millard believes the language of the inscription is Hebrew, Canaanite, Phoenician or Moabite, and it most likely consists of a list of names written by someone unused to writing. Hebrew University archaeologist Mihai Mazur said the inscription was very important as it is the longest Proto-Canaanite text ever found. In 2010, the ostracon was placed on display in the Iron Age Gallery of the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. Khirbet Qeiyafa shrines. In May 2012, archaeologists announced the discovery of 3 large rooms that were likely used as cultic shrines. While the Canaanites and Philistine practiced their cults in separate temples and shrines, they did not have separate rooms within the buildings dedicated only to religious rituals. This may suggest that the rooms did not belong to these two cultures. According to Garfinkel, the decorations of cultic rooms lack any human figurines. He suggested that the population of Khirbet Qeiyafa observed at least 2 biblical bands on pork and on graven images, and thus practiced a different cult than that of the Canaanites of the Philistines. Also, 3 smaller portable shrines were discovered. The smaller shrines are boxes shaped with different decorations showing impressive architectonic and decorative styles. Garfinkel suggested the existence of a biblical parallel regarding the existence of such shrines. One of the shrines is decorated with 2 pillars and a lion. According to Garfinkel, the style and the decoration of these cultic objects are very similar to the biblical description of some features of Solomon's temple, King David's palace. On July 18, 2013, the Israel Antiquities Authority issued a press release about the discovery of a structure believed to be King David's palace in the Judean Shephelah. The archaeological team uncovered 2 large buildings dated to the 10th century BCE. one a large palatial structure and the other a pillared storeroom with hundreds of stamped storage vessels. They claimed that the larger structure may be one of King David's palaces led to significant media coverage, while skeptics accused the archaeologists of sensationalism. Aaron Meir, an archaeologist at Bar-Ilan University, pointed out that existence of King David's monarchy is still unproven, and some scholars believe the buildings could be Philistine or Canaanite. The massive structure located on a hill in the center of the city was decorated with alabaster imported from Egypt. On one side it offered a view of the two city gates, Ashdod and the Mediterranean, and on the other, the Elah Valley. During the Byzantine era, a wealthy farmer built a home on the site, cutting the palace in two.